I'm Commander Shepard, and this is my favorite
podcast
on the Citadel.
Hey! It's Accidentally Casual. It's a podcast for BioWare fans. My name is Minius from Minius GC, and with me is SeekerCat.
Woo!
So we're going to go 3 weeks without having all three of us on the podcast.
Yay!
This is, I knew we were going to have trouble in December, and now I'm facing a huge time crunch, so this has to be a short episode because I'm busy. By the way, this is a pre-recorded one. If you're asking, how do you like the Game Awards last Thursday, Seeker?
I may or may not have enjoyed it, depending on if they said their Dragon Age news or the Anthem trailer was crap, but I'm anticipating neither of those things. So, yeah, I'm going to say I enjoyed it, tentatively.
Oh, wow.
Hopefully the people I want to win won awards.
You had an actual answer, and I was looking for some playful banter. Yeah, this is before the Game Awards.
It was so weird when, yeah.
We have not seen it yet. Something happened. Something that
Things
we're going to want to talk
down.
about. So that's probably next week. We'll finally get into Anthem and get into what was on the Gamer Awards. I'm taking off, and we're trying to squeeze these together, and we couldn't get Tucker on. So it's just the two of us. By the way, I have been to a Game Awards before.
Oh, really? How was that go?
Extremely boring. I was bored out of my mind. And I took my friend with me, and he's like, man, why did you make me go to this? So
video games, lights and stuff. Yeah, surely that's going to be exciting. Nope.
Because you're trapped in a theater, and like normally when you're watching something stream, you can do something else, but it's a dark theater. And I really didn't like the venue it is in because it's a classic stuck-up venue. So they wouldn't let you bring certain stuff in, and then they were selling alcohol, but then you couldn't bring that into the actual theater.
Speaking of alcohol, I've got a whole bottle of wine to drink by myself tonight, so it's like, yay! Nice.
Gets you fired up.
Yep.
So anyway, I'm going to assume, in fact, I know they have a hard time getting people to get to those Game Awards because one of the dudes from the theater actually called me and asked me if I wanted to go again. And I didn't pick it up. But he left a message on my phone. That shows you they really need people to go. So who knows if it's full or not. The tickets are too expensive, and I don't live in Los Angeles anyway. It's very far away. And I wouldn't go again
they're
anyway,
very welcome to fly me out just because I'd be like, yay, trip to America, woo. But yeah.
Yeah, and then you'd sit in the Game Awards, you're like, oh. So hopefully there's some cool stuff. And we will chat about that next week.
I think they're just missing like a really solid host because wasn't there one year where like Zachary Levi turned up dressed as Ezio and that was amusing.
They've had a bunch of different Game Awards iterations. I don't know. Is there an official one now?
I have no idea.
The things are changing. Normally this would be, I'm going on vacation. Normally I'd string it together with my PSX PlayStation Experience trip, but they canceled that. So I'm just going to stay in Vegas for a long time. Which sounds fun, but those are hosted a lot better because they're kind of tailored events towards specific people. The Game Awards, they show games from all different kinds of genres, and generally you're only interested in the games that you're interested in, right? So you see a bunch of games you don't care about.
Although I will say it's a very, very, very solid lineup this year. I mean, what is it? God of War, Spider-Man, Red Dead Redemption.
Oh, you're talking about the winners.
Oh,
yeah,
I'm talking about the nominees.
Yeah.
The nominees, yeah.
I don't care about what other people think is Game of the Year. I learned not to care
really
that.
It's really weird, though, because the only reason I gave a shit because, I was just like, it's the 1 year where I've actually, you know what, I think I've played all the nominees this year. That's really weird.
Well, that might be
never
fun.
happens to me. Yeah.
All right, we don't want to talk too much about it because it's already happened and this is way outdated.
Yeah, no worries. But I was just going to say that this morning, my partner was like, do you want a surprise? And I was like, well, I'm not quite sure where this is going, but yeah, sure, why not? and is like, remember you said there was something you wanted to play that you hadn't played yet? And I was like, yes. Well, and he took me by the hand upstairs into a cupboard we have in a room we don't use very often. And he pulled out Assassin's Creed Odyssey. He was like, okay, here's an early Christmas present then. Because basically I had sort of mentioned earlier in the week, in a moment of frustration, because I saw like a YouTube clip of Assassin's Creed Odyssey, and I said, oh, sod it, when it's payday, I'm just going to buy it for myself just so I can finally get to play the damn thing. And he bought it like weeks ago, so he was just like, please don't buy it, because I've already got it. So I was just like, oh,
that
this
works.
is sweet. So I spent most of the day playing Assassin's Creed Odyssey, and
that is...
the mission...
That's on my to-do. I need to finish 2 games by the end of the year, and I got 2 weeks to do it, and it's not going to happen. So.
But the mission I just did, I was amazed, because bear in mind I'm a massive Greek mythology buff, but there was a temple I had to like infiltrate, and so it's like this standard ancient Greek ruin, but draped across it is like this 100-foot long giant snake skeleton. I was like, that is fucking cool. That's an aesthetic I need more in my life. Just ancient ruins with giant skeletons of things draped over them. That is awesome.
Yeah, I definitely have to give that a play. I also need to play God of War, which we chatted about with Tucker. I'm still irritated that God of War is the founder of QuickTime events. So I don't want to play that game, even though it doesn't have any QuickTime events in it.
It doesn't have any QuickTime events.
I don't care. I have a mental block on it.
I actually asked when I met Nolan North, who's in the game at Comic-Con, and the funny thing was that he and Troy Baker play the 2 Norse deities that are fated to survive Ragnarok. And I said, oh, so how much did you guys laugh when you got told, oh yeah, you're the guys that survived Ragnarok, and also in this game you get killed violently by Kratos. He thought that was funny.
I know. I've been, since I'm leaving in a couple days, and I'm up $5 million in Vegas. So, congratulations to my future self.
Yeah.
I'm playing Red
But
Dead
share
Online.
It around, please. I mean, like, if you've got $1 million going spare, I mean, I'm not going to say no.
So I was just screwing around playing Red Dead Online, and there's not much to do there, and all I'm doing is walking around and murdering lots of animals. It's getting super... That's the best way, apparently, to make money, is to just shoot everything.
Because I've been playing Red Dead Redemption 2, not online, but the thing I found really fucking annoying, though, is that, you know, when you're riding your horse and, you know, you just... Because it's a game, they have, like, all this wildlife, like, especially, like, deer. Deer are the worst for this. Like, springing in your path as if to say, shoot, like, as if they had shoot me signs on them. It's just, like, this itchy trigger finger. I'm just like, I want to fucking shoot everything that's in front of me. And because it's animals, it's like, oh, I also need skins, and I also need to provide meat for the fucking... camp that somehow ate through an entire bear in like 6 hours. And I was like, how the fuck do you even... Okay, fine. So I was like, okay, I'll shoot those animals. But then when you go talk to the lady who's like, I can't remember what her name is, but she's like, oh yeah, if you ever need to sit and talk with me. And I sat and talked with her, and Arthur Morgan ended up saying, sometimes I shoot animals like for no reason. I'm like, that's a funny... Thank you. Oh, there's so many reasons I'm shooting those animals, and it's not my fault. Stop low-key, you know.
In the online, it's selling their parts is by far the fastest way to make money because the economy is not balanced yet. So walking around and shooting birds is the quickest way to get money and level up because you get lots of experience. So the game's broken at the moment. At some point, it'll be famous. It might have issues because what changes what makes the online the RDR environment fun in single player is all the little interactions that are on the road, and the towns are full of people. And in the online, I don't think the system can handle having that many things going on in an online experience. So it just seems a little bit emptier. But this is a beta, and Rockstar takes their time, so who knows?
Yeah. I forgot to mention this last time we were talking about Red Dead, but I am the most passive-aggressive greeter in the South, in the West. Because, like, you know there's that thing you can do when you're riding your horse and someone is coming up the path going the other way, and you say, howdy, partner, or something to that effect. If they
Yeah.
don't say hi back or are rude to me, I will start following them and then start chasing them when they get scared and start running. It's like, you will say hi to me and you will acknowledge me.
Do you ever
It's so stupid. Yeah.
get so mad at one of them that you rope them, tie them up, and leave them on their horse and ride away?
I've never left them on their horse. No, I did tie a guy up and leave him on the train tracks just because I was like, I can't remember what it was. There was something he was doing that he'd done a couple of times that was annoying me so much that I just hog-tied him and left him on the tracks. So I was like, nope, you're far too annoying.
That was a trophy in the last one.
I know it was. It was like Dastardly or something like that. Yeah. It was, I don't think I've ever laughed so hard because I didn't realise. Because when I was playing it almost like in a vacuum. I'd basically like, oh, there's a cowboy game, I guess I'll give it a try. And I was like, oh yeah, I'll hog tie someone to the tracks, and then the train was coming, like not by because I'd orchestrated it that way. It was just because, oh, I've tied it to the tracks, oh, the train's coming. And I was like, there's no way the game's going to actually let me... Oh god, it did. Just one of those things where it's like you don't anticipate something to give you that much freedom, and I was just like cackling to myself for about 20 minutes.
I don't think I've ever talked about this on the show, but I originally got into Rockstar games. I was not a little kid, but I was a kid, and GTA 3 had come out. And I didn't know about it. I was too young to have friends saying, hey, listen, you need to play this game. And I was over at my friend's house, and there was an episode of the news on. And they were talking about how awful this game was and how terrible it was. And they showed a clip of this dude just walking up to the street and hitting this old lady in the face with a bat and then repeatedly pummeling her with the bat.
Yeah.
And I thought that was the coolest thing I'd ever seen.
Because, of course,
I went out immediately and got a PS2. I think I had to beg my mom. I said I wanted a DVD player. But I really wanted to play that game. And that's what Rockstar games are about.
Tell you what, there's this show that was on, years ago now, in the UK called Misfits, where it's essentially these kids who are like, juvenile delinquents, and they've been sentenced to community service, and this mass freak lightning storm happens, and they all get superpowers. But the thing was, the show kept going because the people that the sort of villain of the week was someone who also got caught in the lightning storm and got superpowers because of it. So one guy was obsessed with basically GTA, but a legal, a lawyer-friendly version of GTA. And so when you saw from his perspective, he was looking at a video game. So there was one bit where there's this sort of long alleyway, and he's driving down it. And then you see this little old lady walk across, and I'm like, no, they are not showing this, because I was just like, I knew exactly where it was going. And they even did like the rendered in-game quote shot of her hitting the car bonnet and then going under, and I swear to God, for some reason that was just hysterical, because the second I saw the car, I was like, oh no, I know where this is going, because it's the same impulse every gamer has the second you put them behind a wheel of a car.
I've actually, as I've gotten older, like playing GTA, I actually try to avoid people now because it's more fun. But yeah, that's a weird series of games. That's kind of what it's for. So I feel bad, and then I realize, that's what it's kind of designed for.
But I tell you what, jumping from Red Dead Redemption 2 to Assassin's Creed Odyssey, just one thing that made me blissfully happy is that if you kill an animal and loot it, you can do so from your horse with no animation to be like, oh yeah, I've got to skin the animal for whatever. Nope, you just lean down off your horse and pick up the loot. And I was like, oh, that saves so much time.
So you don't have to go down and individually pick up every bone?
Nope.
That's bizarre that would be a concept. It's
almost like that's actually far more fun and doesn't immediately stop the game dead every single time you want to go hunting for a few things or resource collecting.
In the online, everyone's out there shooting birds. Yeah. So you get people who just like shoot at you, and you're sitting there and you're trying to pluck this fucking bird, and you can't do it. It takes forever.
Have you ever seen that glitch that was in the first one of the people who turned into birds? So someone was just picking off with a sniper rifle these T-posing people that had somehow like fused with the birds in the games. So they were just T-posing, flying around in circles in the sky. It was so funny.
Okay, so this has to be a shorter episode for multiple reasons. First of all, we don't have a full crew. Second of all, I don't have a full time to edit. And third of all, I want to bring you something every week, which this week was going to be skipped because we had a couple of weeks off, and that's something we did on Andromeda Nerds really well, where we went quickly. So anyway, the last show that you missed, we talked about different topic suggestions. So one of the ones coming up that we want to do, that we were actually going to try to do this week, was have us describe our dream video game if you were in charge of that one. Does that sound interesting to you?
That does sound interesting to me. I just got one thing to say just before we go any further. I had the weird experience of I was at work and I was on my lunch break, and just mentioned off the top of my head because someone asked me something, and I mentioned that I did a podcast. And I said, "Oh, you do a podcast? What's it called?" And I said, "Oh, Accidentally Casual," thinking nothing of it, thinking like, "Oh, there's no way he's going to remember." And the next time I saw him, he was like, "Oh yeah, I watched the first episode. That was great. You guys are really entertaining." I was like, "Oh God, what have I done?" And then I was like, "Okay, he's only going to watch the one. That's fine." And then he said like, "Oh yeah, I'm catching up now, and I'm not up to the Detroit Being Human one yet." And I was like, "Neither are we."
No, don't do it. That's going to happen. It's going to happen, I swear.
It's going to happen.
1 to 10, pitching your own video game podcast. Does that sound cool?
Yeah.
How about on a scale of 1 to 10? 10. Woo!
Yeah.
That was like a Tucker answer, and I realized I didn't ask the question properly, so it wasn't your fault.
Yeah, Minius.
All right.
Technically you did, but it's just, yeah.
The second topic I like is I want to put together a list. It'll be an active going list of the podcast 10 most anticipated games coming up.
Ooh, yeah.
So what is your most anticipated game coming up?
Oh God, what's it called? There's Waylanders, which is the Mike Laidlaw thing that they're doing, but that's not going to be out for a while.
I don't. Yeah, that's not going to be out for a while. It's any game that you know or people are working on. It doesn't have to be confirmed.
I'm just googling it because I can't quite remember the name of it. It's one that I've talked about before, and it's made by spiders.
Made by spiders? Like actual spiders made a video game? Because
No.
that sounds awesome.
No, there's.
I want to play that. That's number one now on the list. A game made by actual spiders.
It's called Spiders Game Dev. Spiders Games, but they're just called Spiders. French video game, and the name Greedfall. That's it. I was like, oh God, why can't I remember it? Greedfall looks amazing. I can't wait to play it. So it's in a nutshell, it's sort of like History Divergent, where it's sort of pre-colonial era, or just like sort of Columbus era Europe, and you get sent over to essentially the New World, which is actually an island. So instead of like Native Americans, it's sort of fairies and fae folk and all this sort of mystical stuff. And there's multiple factions. You can influence people politically, and depending on your actions in the game, you can wipe out some factions off the map. And there's romances, and there's branching. There's dialogue choices, and you get to pick your gender. And I was like, this looks so good.
You're pitching it too early. This is the wrong episode.
I know, but I was just like, Greedfall looks amazing. Everyone should go play it, or at least be anticipating it. Damn it.
Yeah, at least like two of the games on my anticipated list. One of them is gonna happen, but no one said it. It's the next Spider-Man universe game.
Oh yeah, like everyone knows it. Like bear in mind they set that up perfectly.
The other one is the Rockstar game that apparently is not a Superman game that they're not going to really not Rockstar.
I'll
Rocksteady.
Believe it when I see it. Yeah. Believe it when I hear about it. But
Superman's a hard game to do anyway.
I'm not the person to. I just because I'm just that person who's like, please avoid doing this, but I couldn't necessarily point to definitely do that or this. Like I couldn't be the person to give constructive feedback. Just please, for the love of God, don't make it this.
All right, I need you to pick an animal of the week that's been going on the whole podcast.
How about?
Because if you don't, it's going to be a squid.
A squid.
I don't want to do a squid.
A sunfish.
A what?
A sunfish.
A sunfish. That is technically.
That is the thing. Google sunfish. They are weird-looking things, and there are giant ones.
I need to re-look at when I was going to school. They had a different idea of what like the tree of life looked like. So there were 5 different things, and now I've watched a documentary and it's all different, and I'm glad I wasn't paying attention the first time because it's because now they have DNA evidence, and I have no idea, is that an animal or is it something else?
It's a fish. Hang on, I'm just gonna send you something. Just have a look at those.
You know what? It should be a life form of the week that can move.
It can move.
Starfish can move, so that's good enough for me. For instance, I think we're like more related to palm trees than we are to flies or something.
I think I've heard something. I think I know what you mean, but yeah.
That's ridiculous. I don't understand that at all.
Well, I think we actually have, I think it's like 15% of our DNA is in common with a banana, which I don't understand how that works, but yeah, who knows?
That sounds like a fun podcast. We were going to have some nerd podcasts. Anyway, what this is turning into, and the other thing I want to pitch now, is we do a weekly podcast, and theoretically we will be able to do it every week as soon as our schedules match up, as they will. I am anticipating, starting in January, do a Nerd Week segment. The nerdy stuff that happened the week that we chat about. And then that'll be, we have a kind of banter, and that stuff comes up anyway, so I figure we might as well structure it better.
Yay.
So this week that would have happened a couple of weeks ago, we talked about like how there's a Cowboy Bebop show that's going to go live action.
Oh yeah,
I feel
I'm
like
actually
I'm quite worried about.
That. Yeah, I feel like I'm going to be watching that behind my hands, just being like, please be good, please be good, please be good.
Because did you see the recent? And in all fairness, I don't watch all the Netflix shows, and the ones I watch are comic book related, and they gave up.
And they canceled
those last couple seasons of.
Tell you what though,
Marvel stuff.
I can guarantee you. Because Disney's doing their own streaming service,
yep. I figured that was it. That's why I said they gave up.
Yeah. I think it's just like, okay, we're going to cancel, quotations, the shows, because Disney have suddenly said, okay, we're going to take over and put them on our streaming service now. So with any luck, we'll still get the same cast, or at least...
I'm not so sure about that.
I'm saying fingers crossed. I mean, is it likely? Maybe 50-50. But
those
if
don't
they
seem
try
like
and say,
Disney shows.
Well, they are made by Disney. They're made by Disney and ABC. Like, there's basically just...
Yeah, I'm just saying they probably want to change the tone if they're putting it on a straight-up Disney service.
Put it this way,
because it's Disney.
There are ways to, do categories and say, okay, if you are registered under this user and you're a kid, you can't watch the gritty, like, Daredevil or Punisher shit. There's ways to do that.
Yes.
Yeah, but it's just.
I want the Punisher from the '90s Spider-Man cartoon show.
He was great.
Where all of his weapons were non-lethal. Did you know that in that entire episode, Spider-Man was not allowed to punch anyone? So I think he punches one person in all 64 episodes.
Yeah, and they had that is weird to think about, because
like he usually like jumps on him with like a foot, and then it cuts away, so you don't actually see physical contact.
Yeah, and there was like one in the they used in the opening, which was him kicking the lizard, but because they showed him sort of throwing the web out to swing on it and shooting towards the camera, by the time they cut to the lizard, he just it looked like he knocked him over. Rather than anything else. That show was so good, considering they had to like really jump in on them and be like, okay, you can only show so much, quote, violence.
Yeah, given that they couldn't show anything, they did a really good job with that. All right, I'm going to go rewatch that at some point.
Yeah. Do you know that they had cast as Mysterio when Sam Raimi was going to be making Spider-Man 4, rather?
No, I got so bitter about Spider-Man 3 that I didn't look at anything.
It was going to be Bruce Campbell. Basically, there was going to be a scene in like...
that would have been great, because he was in every movie.
Yeah, there was basically going to be a scene where Peter was like being a reporter or something, and he was walking through a police studio, and there was going to be a Mysterio without the fishbowl helmet, in handcuffs, essentially saying, "But you don't understand my genius," or something to that effect. So like something hilariously in character for Mysterio.
Oh, like as a cameo, not as a full-on episode. Either way would have worked.
But apparently, like, Jake Gyllenhaal's going to be Mysterio now, and I'm like, okay, sure, I'll believe it when I see it.
No. Yeah, there are some cooler villains that they could go to, but whatever.
I'm fine with them doing Mysterio, just because it's like, he's weird enough to be like, okay, he's very distinctive, at least visually, And there's some cool like mind game stuff you can do with that, which is at least different from the I have a split personality thing, which they've really tried to get away from with the new MCU movies. Because if you think about it, like Green Goblin had a split personality with, you know, Osborn and the Goblin side. Octavius had sort of a split personality between Octavius and the Tentacles, and you had Venom in the third. Yeah, I'm saying in the movies specifically, and then you had the third one which had Venom, and it had sort of like a 50-50 thing between Harry Osborn and the Goblin. It was weird. Just like for some reason, just like no one could get away
from the third movie.
No, but then when they did,
movie hurt my feelings in so many ways.
Oh yeah, I remember. Because I was
sitting there. I'm in the theater crying.
Oh.
This movie sucks so bad. I'm so disappointed. How long ago was that?
That was what, 2006? Something like that?
That was literally 2 iterations of Spider-Man ago. So
yeah,
because they're making those fast. Anyway, this conversation that we're having right now is exactly why I want to have a Geek News segment. We're BioWare fans, and you're BioWare fans. And yet we like more stuff than BioWare, since, you know, BioWare can only put out a game every other year and that kind of stuff.
One last Spider-Man thing.
What's that?
Into the Spider-Verse. How much do you want to see it? I want to see it so bad.
I'm going to see it. I'm not super anticipating it. So.
Well, apparently it's like the best Spider-Man movie, full stop. Like everyone I've seen a comment from has said it's a new tier of Spidey movie. So I'm really, really anticipating it.
I think one of my favorite actors is actually playing the old Spider-Man in that. Jake Johnson?
Yes, he is. He's Peter Parker. Nick Cage
that dude is hilarious.
Noir Spider-Man, which is hilarious. John Mulaney, of all people, is Spider-Ham, which is such perfect casting. I almost couldn't believe it when they said it. I can't remember who the kid who plays Miles Morales is. He sounds great. The dad sounds hilarious.
Haley Steinfeld is Gwen Stacy.
Yep.
Anyway, so that's why we're going to do this.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to chat about Geek News.
Because we're incapable of staying on topic.
We couldn't even say, well, we didn't have a real plan, but really it's all Tucker's fault. I'm blaming Tucker.
Oh, yeah.
Hopefully he'll be back coming up in the next week's podcast. Okay. Anything else you want to say before we disappear?
Peace out, guys.
If I don't do another podcast, it's because I sold my soul in Vegas because I lost all my money. So there's a possibility of that.
All right. See you guys.
That's it for this week. We're going to do real episodes. I can't wait to get going again once everyone's settled in. It's a weekly podcast. I'm at Twitter at MiniusGC, Seekers at SeekerCat5500. Tucker still runs N7 Follower. You can check out podcasts on SoundCloud. Next week, we're talking Anthem and the Game Awards and probably more, because we always do. You can email topics, questions, suggestions, visuals to accidentallycasual@gmail.com. We also have extra content on our YouTube channels, BioWare Central, Minius GC. So for the two of us and Tucker, I want to remind you to game happy. Woo! And the second thing, you didn't even mention that Tucker and I are normally on the show.
I wasn't, I didn't know if we were going to mention it now or if it was going to come out before now. So I was just like, you know what? And I was halfway through the podcast. I thought maybe I should mention something. And then I got rabbiting on about something else. And then I was just like, oh, yeah, I should totally remember to do the sign off, say, where to follow us on Twitter. And that completely slipped my mind as well. So I was like,
all right.
Yeah,
so it's just like a random show that nobody... Like, if new people tune in, they have no idea that those Ability Drain isn't on the show, and it's a completely different show. I like how I didn't qualify for the show, though, because I failed my audition.
Yeah, it's like you need to be this.
You're like, no,
you need
Minius
to be
isn't
this.
a ridiculously hardcore Dragon Age fan. That's it. You can't be on
You
this
need to be
one.
this level of DA fan to get in, and